Imagine needing a passport just to get a haircut, or watching your children cross an international border twice a day just to go to school. Picture a town where your nearest American neighbor is a 25-mile drive away through another country. Welcome to Point Roberts, Washington, one of the most peculiar geographic anomalies in North America. Isolated, scenic, and shaped by history. This 5-square-mile exclave offers a fascinating lens into how geography and politics can redefine the boundaries of everyday life. Point Roberts is a slice of America marooned at the tip of Canada's Tsawwassen Peninsula, just south of Vancouver, British Columbia. On a map, it looks like a small notch that was mistakenly chiseled out of Canada's smooth west coast border. And in a way, that's exactly what happened. Back in 1846, British and American diplomats gathered in Washington, D.C. to finalize the Oregon Treaty, which would settle territorial claims in the Pacific Northwest. In an effort to keep things simple, they decided the border would follow the 49th parallel straight across the continent, no exceptions. That decision, made with limited geographic knowledge, sliced across the peninsula and unintentionally left Point Roberts on the U.S. side. Canada lies immediately to the north. Water surrounds the other three sides. And mainland Washington? That's 25 miles away. Accessible only by driving through British Columbia or crossing the water by boat. It's an accident of diplomacy that created a town with an identity unlike any other. For the roughly 1,200 permanent residents of Point Roberts, daily life requires a level of planning few Americans ever consider. Want to see a doctor, go shopping, or send your child to high school? Be prepared to cross an international border twice. There's a U.S. border station at the entrance to town and a Canadian one at the exit. Locals carry multiple forms of ID. Kids ride school buses that pass through 4 customs inspections each day. Even something as simple as ordering a pizza involves logistics. Because of this, life in Point Roberts operates in a gray zone between two countries. Shops accept both U.S. and Canadian currency. Gas stations cater to Canadian drivers crossing for cheaper fuel. And the local post office has long been used by Canadians wanting a U.S. mailing address to sidestep international shipping fees. It's a town that lives and breathes internationality, but also endures the challenges it brings. Point Roberts isn't just a political oddity. It's a geological masterpiece. Over 4 major ice ages, glaciers carved and reshaped the peninsula. As the glaciers advanced and retreated, they sculpted dramatic cliffs, stone beaches, and tidal flats teeming with marine life. The retreat of those ancient ice sheets also triggered a slow geological rebound, lifting the land upward over millennia. The result is a diverse landscape where forested hills rise above sweeping shorelines. At Lily Point, steep bluffs watch over Boundary Bay, constantly changing with the tides. In contrast, the western shore along the Strait of Georgia offers quieter beaches, scattered with driftwood and smoothed by centuries of erosion. Point Roberts is also a biodiversity hotspot. Its tidal flats and wetlands provide critical habitat for migratory birds, crabs, clams, and sea otters. Native forests of Douglas fir, red cedar, and maple trees drape the inland areas, erupting into brilliant colors every fall. This varied geography has also created a microclimate, milder winters, and cooler summers than neighboring Vancouver or Bellingham. With water on 3 sides, the weather here is tempered year-round, making it ideal for both nature lovers and retirees. Long before treaties and border stations, this land was home to Coast Salish peoples, who fished its waters and lived with the rhythms of the tides. Their presence shaped the land for thousands of years. The first European exploration came in 1791, when Spanish explorer José María Narváez charted these waters. A year later, British naval officer George Vancouver conducted a more detailed survey. Though they couldn't have known it at the time, their maps would help define international borders decades later. By the mid-1800s, small settlements began to appear. The Fraser River Gold Rush in 1858 didn't put Point Roberts on the main route, but the resulting spike in maritime traffic brought more awareness, and eventually, more settlers. And fishing and farming became the backbone of the local economy. Salmon canneries lined the shore, employing a diverse mix of American, British, and Canadian workers, as well as Chinese laborers and local First Nations people. It was a community forged in cooperation, not division. In fact, locals on both sides of the border often ignored the imaginary line. Families visited freely. Children attended the nearest school, regardless of nationality. The border existed, but it wasn't a barrier. During Prohibition in the 1920s, Point Roberts found itself at the heart of a booming underground economy. Canadian liquor flowed south, illegally, and the town's location made it a perfect launching point for rum runners heading into Washington's Puget Sound. Smugglers used speedboats to outrun U.S. Coast Guard patrols. Some even strapped Boeing airplane engines to their boats, turning them into some of the first high-speed watercraft. Rumor has it that the tactics of these moonlight smugglers helped inspire the design of modern hydroplanes. Local fishermen turned into bootleggers by night, navigating through fog and using hidden coves to avoid capture. There are even stories of secret caves used to stash illegal cargo. Though most of the evidence has long since disappeared, the legends live on. After World War II, better roads and automobiles made Point Roberts more accessible. Canadians from nearby Vancouver discovered it as a peaceful getaway, a place to escape the city, breathe fresh air, and enjoy the beach. What followed was a steady rise in vacation homes, summer cabins, and small resorts. Canadians could buy property here at American prices, and many families did just that, creating a seasonal population that far outnumbers the permanent one. Even today, some estimates suggest that up to 75% of property owners in Point Roberts are Canadian. During summer, the population swells with second home owners and visitors. Grocery store shelves are stocked with both American and Canadian products, and neighborhood streets echo with accents from both sides of the border. This duality gives Point Roberts its charm, but also its vulnerability. In the post-9/11 world, border crossings changed, security increased, IDs became mandatory, and spontaneous trips across the line became less common. The Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative in 2009 added more paperwork and procedures, making life in Point Roberts more complicated. Then came COVID-19, and everything changed. In March 2020, the US-Canada border closed to non-essential travel. For Point Roberts, this was catastrophic. Canadians who made up much of the town's customer base could no longer visit their vacation homes or patronize local businesses. The population dropped, shops closed. The town became a ghost of itself. Even basic services were affected. Medical care, mail delivery, and fuel supplies all had to be rerouted. Emergency evacuations had to be negotiated through special protocols. It was a test of the town's resilience. And it passed, but barely. On the flip side, the closure made Point Roberts arguably the safest town in America during the early months of the pandemic. With fewer than 100 cars crossing the border each day, there were no COVID-19 cases reported in Point Roberts until early 2021, nearly a year after the pandemic began. As the world reopened, Point Roberts faced new challenges. The political relationship between the U.S. and Canada became strained under the Trump administration, with tariffs and tough talk souring trade relations. The impact rippled down to the border. Business dropped. Some shops shut their doors permanently. Even point-to-point parcel, a key shipping hub for Canadians, closed for good. Border crossings fell by a third. Tourism all but vanished. In response, locals banded together. They handed out Point Roberts Supports Canada bumper stickers. Shops offered better exchange rates to Canadians. Grassroots efforts tried to revive the economy. But it was clear. A community that had long thrived by bridging borders now felt adrift. Despite its unique struggles, Point Roberts isn't giving up. Residents and officials are actively exploring ideas for the future. Ferry connections to mainland Washington, bypassing Canada altogether. Expanded marina services to boost marine tourism and access. Special border arrangements recognizing the town's exclave status. Diversified businesses that don't rely solely on cross-border trade. Climate change also looms as a major concern. Rising sea levels could threaten shorelines and infrastructure, yet the town's geographic isolation could also make it a climate refuge in the future. Cooler, greener, and buffered by water on three sides. To outsiders, Point Roberts might seem like a curiosity, a mistake of mapping, a place caught between countries. But to those who live there, it's simply home. They've built a life defined not by borders, but by community. They've weathered isolation, regulation, and global upheaval, and found ways to adapt, thrive, and support one another. The story of Point Roberts isn't just about geography, it's about resilience, identity, and the surprising strength of a town that, in many ways, exists in its own world. And as long as tides rise, borders shift, and history continues unfolding, Point Roberts will remain one of the most intriguing corners of the continent. A town not forgotten, but uniquely positioned at the edge of two nations.